Good morning, grandkids. Today we are reading The Warrior. We've read The Beggar, The Thief, and today is The Warrior. Next week will be our last book in this series, The King. So let's see what happens to him today. This is the third book in a 4-book series. If you have not read the first 2 books, Beggar and Thief, you would be well advised to do so. Zoibed Earl did not know much of his past, nor did he care to. As a child, he had lived in Earlgard, but the kingdom was very poor, and taxes were, as a result, very high. He was too young to manage his abundant inheritance, but his servants, fearing that their master would be ruined, moved him to Jotunheim. No one knew why that location was picked. Some old maid, long dead now, had thought it was a good place to raise a child. No one else had a better idea. There may have been children with a more pampered, more spoiled existence than young Zoibed, but that is doubtful. As he grew, he understood that he was rich, but he had nothing else. No family, no social position, no security at all. Loyalty, he found out on more than one occasion, cannot truly be bought. Knowing that he had but one asset, a fortune, he was determined to protect it, and if possible, increase it. Some otherwise perfectly nice people are greedy, but Zoibed was that rare accident of nature or breeding who has no other interest but acquiring and hoarding gold. He was willing to do anything to increase his fortune. Most recently, he had begun secretly hiring mercenaries to attack desirable properties and then buying them when no one wanted to live there anymore. The attacks would then, of course, cease, excuse me, and Zoibed would have profitable land, which he had purchased for a song. It had begun small, with a few farms, but recently he had begun a more ambitious campaign. In north-central Skyrim, sorry about that. In north-central Skyrim, there is an area called the Alto, which is of unique geographical interest. It is a dormant volcanic valley surrounded on all sides by glaciers, so the earth is hot from the volcano, but the constant water, drizzle, and air is frigid. A grape called jazzberry grows there comfortably, and everywhere else in Tamriel it withers and dies. The strange vineyard is privately owned, and the wine produced from it is thus rare and extremely expensive. It is said that the emperor needs the permission of the Imperial Council to have a glass of it once a year. Wow, that's really rare stuff. In order to harass the owner of the Alta into selling his land cheap, Zoibed had to hire more than a few mercenaries. He had to hire the finest private army in Skyrim. Zoibed did not like spending money, but he had agreed to pay the general of the army, a woman called Sophia. Now see, these are all related, and I don't think that any of them know each other. A gem the size of an apple. He had not given it to her yet. Payment was to be delivered on the success of the mission. But he had trouble sleeping, knowing that he was going to be giving up such a prize. He always slept during the day so he could watch his storehouse by night. Remember that in the other book? When he knew that thieves were about. That brings us up to this moment when, after a fitful sleep, Zoibed woke up at about noon and surprised a thief in his bedroom. The thief was Elsweyr. Elsweyr had been contemplating a leap from the window 100 feet down into the branches of a tree beyond the walls of the fortified palace, and a tumble from there into a stack of hay. Anyone who has ever attempted such a feat would testify that it takes some concentration and nerve to do such a thing. When he saw that the rich man sleeping in the room had awakened, both left him. Both concentration and nerve left him, and Elsweyr slipped behind a tall ornamental shield on display to wait for Soybud to go back to sleep. Soybud did not go back to sleep. He had heard nothing but could feel someone in the room with him. He stood up and began pacing the room. Soybud paced and gradually decided that he was imagining things. No one was there. His fortune was safe and secure. He was returning to his bed when he heard a clunk. Turning around, he saw the gem, the one he was to give to Lucien, on the floor by the Atmoran cavalry shield. A hand reached out from behind the shield and grabbed it up. "Thief!" Soybud cried out, grabbing a jeweled Akaviri katana from the wall and lunging at the shield. Whoop. The fight between Elsweyr and Soybud will not go down in the annals of great duels. Soybud did not know how to use a sword, and Elsweyr was no expert at blocking with a shield. It was clumsy. It was awkward. Soybud was furious, but was psychologically incapable of using the sword in any way that could damage its fine filigree, reducing its market value. He didn't want to damage the sword. Elsweyr kept moving, dragging the shield with him, trying to keep it between him and the blade, which is, after all, the most essential part of any block. Soybud screamed in frustration as he struck at the shield, bumping its way across the room. Can you imagine somebody standing behind a big shield? They can't pick it up. They don't know how to use it, so they just drag it along across the room, hiding behind it. What a fight. He even tried negotiating with the thief, explaining that the gem was promised to a great warrior named Lucien, and if he would give it back, Soybud would happily give him something else in return. Elsweyr was not a genius, but he did not believe that. By the time Soybud's guards came to the bedroom in response to their master's calls, he had succeeded in backing the shield into a window. They fell on the shield, having considerable more expertise with their swords than Soybud did, but they discovered that there was no one behind it. Elsweyr had leapt out the window and escaped. As he ran heavily through the streets of Jalenheim, making jingling noises from the gold coins in his pockets, feeling the huge gem chafe where he had hidden it, Elsweyr did not know where he should go next. He knew only that he could never go back to that town, and he must avoid this warrior named Lucien, who had claims on the jewel. Elsweyr story is continued in the book King. No, I want this one to go on. So this was the big warrior fight? Holy cow. So the next book is King. What in the world is he going to do? What's he going to do with that gem? How are all three of them going to come together and meet? I can't wait until next week, grandkids. Okay, that's the end of this story. and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.